The SL7 is a very successful race bike, and we wanted to make a big step forward with the SL8. We did not want an evolution, we really wanted to say, okay, we put all together what we have learned from SL7, from Ethos, and put it in one new big package. Yeah, we really challenged ourselves because we want to have it all. We said, okay, we want a bike faster than the Venge, lighter than the Ethos, very comfortable, and super good ride quality, especially on the downhills. Of course, that's a dream, because if you set the mark super high, almost unreachable, then you know you can't follow traditional rules. You have to do something completely new. You have to break all the rules of today to make that come true. So our goals were really like, we wanted to best in each category of what is a quality for a race bike. We started with Ride Analytics. It's a complex software where we work with the pro teams to analyze what bike would make them faster in each race. So basically we simulate the racetracks, and then we can simulate, is a lighter bike faster, is a more aerodynamic bike faster, and then we can determine what is the perfect bike overall. So with that software we were able to exactly set the targets about how much aero do we need and how much lightweight do we need. That's the starting point. That was basically our point in the air. We say, okay, this is where the bike should end up to.
As an engineer, you're always excited to get new things started. You always want to experiment new ideas and new techniques. In the end, that was a necessity for the Tarmac SL8. We didn't do that because it was fun. We did that because it was just a necessity. The conflicting targets kind of imposed a new process and forced us to work in a different manner than what we were utilizing on the Ethos or on the SL7. We created this new process, and we created essentially this combination of very complex tools. So in the FEA environment, which is our virtual test lab, but also into CFD environment, which is our virtual wind tunnel, we were able to iterate much faster than if we had to create physical samples. That essentially gave us the freedom to do whatever changes were required on the frame design, but also in the layup to create the best performing machine that was precisely where the targets were set.
There are a couple of things that were sort of, you say that in English, taboo. Things that you don't do because nobody does, okay? So if you go and propose this kind of modification to the manufacturer or to the older composite engineer, he will come back to you and say, no, we don't do that in this industry. And you say, why? Let's give it a try. No, takes too long. We were able to convince, skeptical people with evidences. This is the way to go. We have to do that. We have to try it. But there are a couple of very fundamental things in this bike that have not been attempted before that led us to a much higher performance, and were never attempted because nobody dared to. We have a new knowledge now.
Racing is a big part of what we do at Specialized, and we're really proud of partnering with and supporting some of the best athletes in the world. Athlete input really drives us to making the bikes better and making sure that we deliver exactly what the rider is asking for. Our athletes really believe in the one bike to rule them all philosophy, yet they pushed us hard every day to make the bike that little bit faster and even lighter than before.
Yeah, I mean, bike racing is a lot of psychology as well, and if you know you're on a very competitive, on the best bike, that definitely helps you a little bit. So I think if you have no doubts, that definitely helps to win bike races.
I always had the feeling that I'm like in front of my competitors when I have the fastest bike.
We are on the fastest bike that we've ever had available to us. Now we can simplify things with just one platform that we know it works in all conditions. It works in climbing, it works in the crosswinds, in the classics.
The last one was already almost perfect. I think this is even better. Again, at the speed, of course, you need to measure that in the tunnel, but it feels fast.
Okay.
And the back it's more comfortable. I had a couple bumps on purpose, and you can really feel that it takes it better at the back. And I also have the idea that it takes it a little bit better at the front.
The partnership we have with Specialized is really unique. We are so deep into the development of the product, and we have so much influence on the products. It's just good fun for me to be a part of, and I think it makes us all better. It creates better bikes and makes us faster out in the races.
Yeah, some people have this idea that there's this one guy who has that idea and then makes things come true. In reality, bikes are so complex today that to make such a fantasy, like we had together this fantasy of this crazy bike, but to make it come true, you need a huge group of highly talented experts. This bike is so close to what's possible from physical boundaries, what we have, that you need the best expert in CFD. You need the best expert in aerodynamic understanding. You need the best expert in structural design. You need the best expert in FEA. You need the best expert in layup. You need a best expert to bring it all together. You need the best manufacturing. You need then the best quality control. It's like if you miss one of these links, your whole chain breaks. It's really like you need this big team, and the challenge is so high. You need these crazy guys, you know. You need like a team of crazy men and women who wake up in the morning, think about that, and how can I make that come true? Otherwise, today it's not possible to make such a crazy bike without a big team. It's an illusion.
These tools, you have them in, it's pretty common in the bike industry to have CFD or FEA. I think what is unique at Specialized is that we have the ability at each step of this process to verify the predictions of the software in the wind tunnel in Morgan Hill, but also in our test lab. And the numbers that we get from the wind tunnel and the test lab were basically some further data acquisition that were validating the choices of the design team, but also of the product team, and saying, good to go, thumbs up, we're on a good path, let's continue, let's further refine the shapes, let's further refine the layup until nothing left is on the table.
I feel really confident in the corners. Like the downhills feel really good. I feel safe, I feel one with the bike. And also like when I'm sprinting, I feel like that every pedal stroke is like bam, good. The bike is a combination of like super aero, super light, super fast. And every little thing, just a little bit more better. It's just again a step up, and so a nice bike.
Where the wind hits the frame, we have our nose cone. So this is, the leading edge is moved to the front, and the reason for that is that our down tube flows into our top tube like on the ethos. If the camtail would be here, that whole section would start to breathe under steering loads. That would mean we have to add a ton of material. So to keep that light, we have the same concept and the ethos that the down tube forces flow beautifully in the top tube. But then by moving the nose cone to the front of the bike, we have the full aero benefit. Then the top tube is in the wind shadow of the head tube. That's great. This section is also very aerodynamic and then continuously goes into the ethos shape. So when you look here, the BB basically is copy-paste ethos. The lower section of the C tube from here down, copy-paste ethos, down tube, copy-paste ethos. The chainstays are in the wind shadow of the BB and the C tube, so no aero disadvantage, 100% ethos. And the seat stays, we used a tiny camtail. So the seat stays are super aerodynamic, And then we have our seat tube, which is a full aerodynamic profile. In comparison to SL7, we narrowed the seat tube a lot for a higher aero benefit. So also our seat post is a lot narrower. We have not that very deep section to allow a lot of comfort for such a bike. So we get basically the most of it. We get here, weight of the ethos, here, full venge aerodynamics, and here we get comfort, and we want that you feel really great and have fun after 5 hours. Okay, the first ride on SL8 actually was one of the most emotional rides I ever had in my life. So I hit it our local hill, and on the first section, which is quite steep, I thought, oh yeah, that feels like an ethos. Yeah, that's great. And the second half of the hill is more fast, so I could feel the aero benefit. And I was like, wow, we did something. But then there was the downhill. And I was like, normally it takes me 3 or 4 rides because it's a very technical downhill till I feel comfortable. And on SL8, the first turn I was like, huh? And the second turn, because normally on this turn, because it's very rough and brutal tarmac, and I have to correct in the turns, you know. With SL8, it was like I felt a lot more connected to the tarmac, and then I felt like a carving knife. So after the third corner, I was going full speed down, and I was leaning over in turns like there's no tomorrow, and then I hit the bottom, and I started to laugh for the next 5 kilometers. I couldn't stop it.